Hi, I'm Whack.
Hey, and I'm Pat. Thanks for joining us for a special episode of the Weekly Orbit. This is our year-end product. We're going to have recap of 2024 highlights of Rocket Pool and Ethereum. We're going to be talking about 2025 and what to expect from Rocket Pool, and also the 2025 predictions. And we're going to go over last year's predictions too, which is it's fun. And this is why this is not financial advice once you see our predictions from last year. So, but we have a special guest today. Jasper, the friendly ghost, is with us, front of the pod. Thank you for joining us, Jasper. How are you? And where's this podcast finding you?
Good to be here as always. This podcast is finding me at my parents' place up in North Jersey, away from med school. Happily on the last days of my winter break. Have been writing pretty fiercely throughout of it, but alas, essay remains unfinished. But it is coming.
It is coming. We wait with bated breath for the new Jasper white paper.
Yeah, do you think you'll be able to finish it even with going back to school, or maybe not?
It's still got another like 20 pages to write, so hopefully by end of January. But we shall see.
Only 20 more pages, right? What is
Just 20.
Is this going to be like a 60-pager or what?
Yeah, it's looking like a 60-pager, maybe a bit longer.
Wow.
You're gonna make me read it out again, aren't you?
Maybe
right.
a lot.
So let's talk about 2024. We'll recap. We had two releases for Rocket Pool. We had Houston, which was last July, and then we had Saturn 0, which was in October. The Houston upgrade was kind of a decentralization type of upgrade as I look at it. You had on-chain voting. It allowed for a security council to replace a kind of a guardian wallet, and also the one that was really anticipated was whale marriages. It would allow you to stake on behalf of a node and have a different withdrawal address. So let's talk about that for a moment. It's about 6 months since that upgrade. How do we grade it? Do we grade it? Do we say it's incomplete? Do we want to go just quickly through each one of those? And let's start with you, Jasper. What do you think, Houston?
Yeah, so I think Houston was a given an unfair shake in that I think they turned in a solid B plus A minus essay, but then got Gary Gensler as the grader. And the reason I say that is because Houston was well lined up in its execution delivery. The on-chain voting delivered, and we had numerous on-chain votes, including Saturn 0. It's an A minus B plus because the Security Council remains to be really iterated on. And then we have the whale marriages, which was one we were all really looking forward to, which did enable NodeSet, and NodeSet has launched very successfully. So the technical foundations of the upgrade were fantastic. However, Gary Gensler was the grader, and upon receiving the paper, threw out a big fat lawsuit. Well, it was obviously, it was not causal. There's no causal relationship here. It was really just unlucky timing that right after Houston goes live, that Consensus gets hit with this big staking lawsuit, which it seemed like from the peanut gallery to have killed a lot of the momentum around potential institutional staking partnerships for the time being. So yeah, I would give the Houston upgrade a solid B plus on actual content, but unfortunately they got handed to a grader who gave them a B minus
Gotcha.
C.
Wack, what do you think? What do you think about
Yeah,
Houston?
like Houston, like you said, there were things for us to be excited about. Like we were going to get another feather in our cap of greater decentralization, working towards ever greater decentralization, which is really awesome, right? And then we also had this, the hype aspect of it was the whale marriages, like you guys said. Sadly, with both of those, it seems like there were exactly like Jasper said, the technical aspect of it were fantastic. They were all great. Like it all worked well. The problem is, we had the bug that needed to be fixed, which meant that we still haven't had an on-chain vote yet, even though we should have had some 5 months ago, pretty much, or 4 months ago. The Security Council is still not set up, and not only that, but we still don't know exactly. We haven't decided on how we're going to pick a Security Council, how it's going to look, how it's all going to work. There's been some forum threads where people have shared ideas, kind of put themselves forward as people, as why they should be on the Security Council if it ever emerges, what some of the duties might look like. But we still aren't closer to getting a Security Council. Even recently, Hululo tried to make a push towards having our first on-chain vote, and even that got blocked by other things. So there've been lots of blockages along the way, and that's not all the fault of the team. It's just the way that things have worked out. And then, like Jasper said, with the whale marriages part, that sadly was dead on arrival. And what's really funny is that we don't even need whale marriages anymore, because those whales can just come in on ETH only validated, which we're going to talk about next. With Saturn Zero, but has changed it. So I think in the month after Houston, people in the community were like, we really should have had some of these conversations that then became like the Saturn roadmap. If we had listened to some of those ideas earlier, maybe the team could have started working on that instead, because that could have had a much bigger impact potentially down the line, instead of like the Houston stuff. But the reality of it is that that's like hindsight, and at the time we were all like, yeah, this is great, we're going towards decentralization, this is great, we're helping the protocol scale. Sadly it's not worked out in both of those cases to the extent that we had hoped, but the path is there, I guess, for both of those still to improve in 2025.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing because there's about 15 months between Atlas and Houston. And so this next upgrade comes, and we're still trying to realize some of the changes that were made. Like you said, the on-chain voting, no whale marriages, Security Council still hasn't been formed. So it almost feels like it was I don't want to say wasted, because it may still, all that stuff will probably still be realized. It's just the world of crypto moves so quickly that probably Saturn Zero is maybe going to have a quicker impact than the Houston one, right? So let's talk about Saturn Zero. It essentially was pretty straightforward. It just allowed ETH only minting pools. You didn't need RPL collateral. As I recall, we had over 35,000 ETH in the deposit, 42,000. Thank you, WAC, in the deposit pool. And the day it went live, within a few days, or maybe within that week, I think we just drained it to zero, which is an absolute success. And then we realized after that we had an RETH problem where we weren't having anyone put money, ETH into the deposit pool. So let's talk about Saturn Zero. Jasper, how do you see Saturn Zero, and how's it set up for Saturn One as well?
Saturn Zero feels like something that's been building in the community since really back in the pETH versus nETH days. That civil war, we had some people take the side that the tokenomics overall need a massive overhaul. And while it's not the first time someone has suggested such a thing, I think it's the first time it made an impact on the conscience of Rocket Pool as a vague entity. And that's sort of faded into the background as Atlas hype hit, and then had its reemergence around CSM, this call to action. Um, and when we had Houston go live and sort of fizzle until NodeSet came along and sort of helped in that push to clear the deposit pool, which was a great campaign on their end. Um, we sort of finally hit the critical mass where people were willing to acknowledge that the RPL as a bonding mechanism was an inefficient form of value capture that was limiting the growth of the protocol overall. And it was a band-aid that had to be ripped off, but in order for people to admit to it being a band-aid in the first place, you sort of had to hit that rocket up and back down so that people can be like, if you try to do it at the top, people are like, no, it's clearly working, so we can't do
Right.
it. If you're on the middle level, people will be like, well, we're still up quite a lot. And so in a lot of tragic ways, it took the price being what it is for Saturn to hit that level of acceptance with the community. And I'm glad it has, because it finally puts the entire protocol in in my opinion, sustainable path forward. Back in the pETH versus nETH debate, for a very long time the flat option, which was a minority stance, largely because neither side scaled towards LEBs 4 and below. And even since my big essay that Wack read aloud, I had been predicting that we were going to get to LEB 2s. It was just a matter of the tech catching up to the ideas, which
Hmm.
was, it just felt inevitable. And it was, right? And it will be with Saturn too. Uh, and so with Saturn Zero, we finally have tokenomics that put us in an end state, that consider the end state instead of trying to tinker with our current state, which is really what we've been doing since the protocol launch, trying to min max what we have, with Atlas being a modification from 16 to 8, Houston being sort of enabling these whale marriages. We've been trying to tinker with a model that ultimately was unsound. And finally, we have a real attempt at building up a protocol with still $1 billion of TVL, but now with real strong tokenomic foundations.
Just I want to ask you a question. Do you think if the pETH and ETH debate had gone either to flat or to pETH instead of nETH, do you think we could have the RPL price would have been different now? Like, because the presumption is that a lot more of it would have been locked up, and with a lot more of it being locked up, the TVL would have been higher, all that kind of stuff. We might not have had as many validators, or potentially we might have had the same amount of validators, or maybe even more if the price had gone up a lot. But do you think that could have put us in a long-term shaky position, but in a short-term stronger position than we've actually found ourselves in?
So I think with the PE side, we would have had a higher high in the in that, Atlas market cycle, but I don't think that the price would have done any better long term. There's just been too many whales, non-whales exiting due to unsound tokenomics that ultimately, if we went pETH versus nETH, it didn't matter. If we went flat, I think there's some hope, because I think the flat tokenomics at least acknowledges that there was a plot problem, and that around that people might have coalesced a vision earlier. So yeah, no, I don't think that there would have been any amelioration to our current issues from going pETH.
Do you think
Just
it would
for
have been
our
like that?
well,
That
just for our
sorry.
listeners, pETH and nETH. Let's define that. Okay.
Sure. So PE stands for protocol ETH, and nETH is node operator ETH, or essentially ETH that the node operator provides. The big debate that happened during the Atlas run up was, all right, we're going to 8 ETH mini pools, but what should the RPL collateralization limits and minimums be based around? Should it be based around what the node operator provides, or what the protocol provides the operator, or the loaned amount? And this, we got very close to Atlas going live without actually clarifying these numbers. And so there was this last minute mad dash to sort of form consensus that arguably tore the community apart to a point that it never really recovered from. Um, and in the end, it did not even lead to a satisfactory outcome. Ultimately, if you believe that we should go with protocol ETH, your RPL minimum should be higher. If you go with node operator provided ETH, it should be smaller. And this sort of dictates how much value is being extracted from the node operator. Uh, and and yeah, uh, by going nETH, we sort of went with we should extract less value. Had we gone pETH, we would have extracted more. Ultimately, I think neither was suitable.
Gotcha. Back, did you
Yeah.
have another question for Jasper? I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I think what I was going to say was, you know, we, like Jasper said, at the time the price was doing really well, so people were really hesitant about hearing any arguments that might, make them think that Rocket Pool's on shaky ground, or the tokenomics were on shaky ground, because people were like in preservation mode. I guess maybe they didn't want to acknowledge that it might be that there's issues here. But the thing that I was thinking of earlier was, there's that meme, right, where you start with a hard life and you work hard, and then you get to a position where then everything gets easy later, or you start with the easy life and then things get hard later. And
Hmm.
I'm just wondering which of those paths that we've taken. Things have definitely been hard for the last nearly a year and a half, no, nearly 2 years now. Things have been really hard, and like, when is the time that it's going to get easier coming? Hopefully soon. But yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, let's shift focus then. That's a good way to segue into 2025. Okay, will things get easier in 2025? Let's just in terms of broader markets. Let's talk about that first. It feels like there's some momentum and like regulatory relief coming from the United States. A new president coming in, changing of the guard. There seems to be relief on that end. It seems like crypto is becoming more mainstream. We got the ETFs that were approved in 2024. You turn on any of the financial networks now, there's always seems to be a segment about Bitcoin or Ethereum or crypto in general. So just going forward in 2025, what do you guys think about crypto at large? Jasper, what do you think?
Yeah, I think 2025 is going to be a great year for crypto. Uh, Stand with Crypto, which is like one of our our big lobby groups now. That crypto is the largest spender of in lobbying groups in DC. Said that this is the most pro uh, cryptocurrencies Senate we've ever had. The Senate Banking Committee just picked four Democrats, all with 8+ ratings by the same crypto lobby group. So I strongly believe that we have hit the bottom of the regulatory, or so that we've hit the top of regulatory action. That with this last hurrah that we're sort of seeing play out, that's already being pushed back rather efficiently. That the old guard is weakening in strength and is ending their tirade. I think the biggest theme of 2024 for me was legal challenges. Was this last
Mm.
attempt to sort of exploit all legal avenues to slow down cryptocurrency, and Rocket Pool was caught in this. To me, the biggest moment of 2024 for Rocket Pool was neither Houston nor Saturn, but actually Consensus getting hit by the SEC lawsuit in which Rocket Pool was named. For me, that was the most intense moment of the year. Spot put me into a fury to write a massive essay immediately, uh, and I think we're still reeling from that in a lot of ways. But yeah, with 2025 now, that's all going to go away. Like we see a new SEC, we see an entirely new legal paradigm in which DeFi Renaissance is now kosher, where fee token, which is what we're already building for, is now kosher, right?
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, this seems like the year where not only do all these protocols that have been beaten down and experienced years of hardship, these years that Wack was just talking about, it seems like they finally get that moment in the oasis. We have Mark Zeller bold posting Aave about how Trump is going to be using it in World DeFi, how they're using CowSwap to twap into ETH. Are the president's DeFi protocols buying ETH through other DeFi protocols? We have hundreds of billions in stable coins. Uh, in terms of actual crypto adoption, 2025 is going to be mind blowing.
Gotcha. Whack, what do you think? Just in general, crypto in 25.
Yeah, so are we gonna? I might have to like eat my words in a second when I say this, but because of what we're gonna show after this. But I think that people just like we're all traumatized. Like if you guys are watching this and you've been watching this for like last year and a half or 2 years, we're all and this might be a crass analogy. I'm sorry, but it's like battered wife syndrome. I'm sorry to say, like what this idea is that a person suffers abuse and they can't break out of that mental trap that they've fallen into, even though their situation might get better. And sorry about that, but yeah, I should have said that. But the reality is like I honestly think that's how we all as people who are like crypto native or been in crypto for the last few years, that's the situation that we've been in. We've just been beaten down over and over and over again in all these different ways. And the reality is now that that's gone. That's done. Like the situation has changed. We are not in that position anymore. Like it's really, really like it's impossible to like overstate just how different a situation this is now. Like the Supreme Court, like they've overturned the Chevron deference, which limits the regulatory powers of all the governmental agencies. So they can't come after crypto with the same, zeal that they did before. That's gone. After that, we have a president, like Jasper said, who's literally a DeFi founder. Like, what even is that? After that, we have a Senate, which is voting in favor with crypto. I think the majority of senators now have a positive rating with standard crypto. The House, I think, has over 300 or 50 members of the House have favorable ratings for crypto from standard crypto. Like, the biggest asset manager in the world is going on TV. Larry Fink is going on TV and shilling Bitcoin and ETH. Like, all of us, if we're not seeing that crypto is going to be absolutely gargantuan in 2025, that we are psychologically damaged. Like, that's the only explanation I have. Like, that's the reason why I was mentioning that. Right? Like yeah. And honestly, I'm trying to scream about this. I'm like, guys, what are you thinking? Like, go all in. This is your moment now. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. The green lights are flashing so loud, but we just have become blind to it. And like, honestly, like, I know that I might sound like an idiot in a year's time when I'm super duper cringe or whatever it might be, but right now it's just looking like the tailwinds are so strong. It's like calm down, guys, slow down a little bit. Like, the ship's gonna capsize because the waves are too big behind us. Like, that's how I'm honestly. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like, it's just. Yeah, I don't know. So that's why I think, like, I think the way that crypto stars are lining up have never, ever, ever in the history of crypto been this favorable. Like, it's only until like a couple of years ago when I stopped hearing people finally say Bitcoin's going to zero. Like, it was literally like only a couple of years ago, and people are still like, that was the mindset that our cohort, when we got in with this idea that this could all go to zero, but none of us have, I think, fully truly adapted to the mindset that this isn't going to go to zero. So yeah, that's
okay,
where I'm standing right now.
The bullish rant. That's
honestly, like, I don't see how I don't personally, I can't fathom how people don't see that. Like, it's like, guys, like, it's as clear as day. Like, this is the most obvious thing that is in front of you. Just look at it. And people aren't looking at it. They're just like, no, it's gonna, like, they're already talking about selling ETH at 6K. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what are you doing? But hey, like, a profit's a profit. So I'm not gonna tell them that, you guys messed up by selling ETH at 6K, but you do you, man. I'm not selling shit at that price.
Huge shout out to Hani Abu for all the incredible sites they've made under Ether Alpha. But my favorite of all the just
Institutional
countless amazing sites, EthereumAdoption.com. It's so simple. It is a timeline of just major TradFi adoption events. Banks after nation states just building on Ethereum.
Major
And
organizations.
yeah, it's the single most bullish thing to me. Just to throw out some numbers for a little bit of a predictive fun. So in the last, since the election, over $30 billion of stablecoins have been minted on Ethereum, bringing it from roughly 100 billion all the way to like 135 billion. I think in 2025 we see that crest at least 300 billion
in new issuance or
in total stables.
In total.
On Ethereum.
Yeah. What are we at right now?
On Ethereum ecosystem, 132.
Okay, so more than a 2x in 2025.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
And stablecoins directly impact price. Well, oftentimes impact price.
The thing is, like, you have to see Ethereum, right, as what it's securing and what the value of all the tokens are, what the value of all the NFTs are, what the value of all the stable coins are, and then you kind of like put a multiple on that, kind of like to make sure that it's all secure, right? So if the underlying network can be breached for less than the worth of all the assets on it, then it becomes very economically, you're incentivized to attack it. And the way that you prevent those attacks is by Ether being expensive and difficult to attack. So that those numbers kind of do play a relationship together.
That is the exact basis of the massive essay I am working on. Just quick TLDR for their listeners. I'm trying to model Ethereum's monetary system, both for ETH the asset, the burn, all that stuff, so that then I can analyze the question of inflation and how LSTs impact it. It's sort of just a magnum opus of all these different topics.
Fabulous. Look forward to it. Well, this is a show about an LST and a staking protocol called Rocket Pool. What do we see for 2025 for LSTs in that sector of crypto, and in particular Rocket Pool? How does Rocket Pool, do we gain market share? Do we remain stable? How does CSM impact all this? Does the market fall in love with LSTs, or does it move on to the next shiny thing? Whack, why don't you go first?
Okay, so thanks for sending me first with this, because I've got a take here that I think might be somewhat controversial in this space. So, and to take like a point that Jasper's brought up a couple of times as well, is it might be that Rocket Pool and RPL are bear market protocols, and what that means is, and here's my thinking, right? Like, let me try to unpack it. So Ether is going up. ETH is flying. It's hitting 10K. It looks like momentum's still there. We still haven't peaked. Whoever the host of whatever late night TV show is, they haven't started talking about crypto yet, and they haven't changed their profile picture to an NFT agent or whatever. And that's not happened yet, right? And ETH is at 10K. Now people are thinking, hey, I've been staking my ETH for a few years, but I want to get into a position to sell, right? There's 35 million ETH staked right now, maybe even more than that at this point in time. A lot of those people, maybe 20%, maybe 50%, maybe 80%, I don't know. Let's just say 50%, they're rushed for the exits. They say, I want to get liquid and I want to be in a position where I can sell my ETH. What's going to happen with that, right? Like that's going to mean that staking protocols are going to get smaller. People who, will have to go through a queue to sell their crypto, they're going to have to, if they're holding LSTs, they're going to dump their LSTs to get liquid ETH. And I think we're going to see at least one major unpegging, if not multiple major unpeggings. And by major unpegging, I'm saying like 5, maybe plus percent, maybe even 10% unpegging of an LST in 2025. That's going to send shockwaves through the whole of the LST space. It's going to hit the whole of the LST space. So crypto is going to do really well. But in crypto doing really well, it might have negative impact on LSTs. However, I should caveat this by saying I don't think that is going to have a negative impact on the RPL price. Now, the biggest piece of evidence I have for this is something, again, Jasper's been like showing a lot, is Puffer Finance. Puffer Finance is an absolute shit show of a protocol right now. It's got some really bad mechanics internal to it that is leading to bad experiences for node operators, bad experience for validators. Their validator counts are going down, like it's plummeted. The token prices are all-time highs. So I think that is like, that's going to be saving grace for Rocket Pool's, like the RPL token, is that the protocol might shrink. Like, I don't know how much it's going to shrink by, like 10%, 20%, 50%. I have no idea. Like, I'm not going to put a number on it, but I think that isn't going to have an impact on the price because of the price of RPL, I should say, because we are going to be in a bull market. Everything's going to get a bid. Will we go up as much as other tokens? I don't know. Like, I think other sectors might outperform the LST space probably strongly. Is the LST space going to go up? I think almost definitely. So that's what I think about like the LST space. So Jasper, I know I stole some of your ideas and things that we've shared in common, thoughts we've shared in common. So I'd love to hear some other thoughts from you.
I love how much you preface that with agreement, because I'm actually going to disagree with
Oh,
your interpretation of my
let's do
opinions.
it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is funny because I think for the most part you correctly interpret or you correctly present my our shared beliefs. So I agree with you that we're going to see a 5% DPEG, probably across multiple LSTs. But where we disagree is on the timing. So I don't think it'll be anywhere in the lead up to the bull market. I think it's post bull market, and actually not even within the first few months of the beginning of the bear market. But once we hit like some of the major liquidation events that are in the later phase of returning down. So if you recall back at the Three Arrows Capital debate or debacle, the initial liquidations happened, uh, but then they had this continuous effect of new liquidations popping up later on that, you didn't really know were going to happen. And it's actually those later ones that are more devastating because they happen when the market liquidity has already been drained. And so I think what we end up seeing is actually we're in ETH season. I think we all agree. We're about to hit ETH season. We're arguably already in ETH season with all the AI taking off on base, with metrics just through the goddamn roof everywhere. We're in ETH season. Now we also have news that the ETFs might be getting staking next year. And, well, you have a certain set of protocols that have been challenged by the SEC now getting sort of like the clearance as the SEC pulls back. So you have a few different factors going here. ETH price is going to go parabolic. With ETH price going parabolic, on-chain metrics are likely going to follow. On-chain metrics going parabolic means that ETH staking APR goes up. ETH staking APR means people want to jump into staking, likely liquid staking. These people are bull market tourists. They don't want to go into home staking. However, Rocket Pool's fixing a lot of our limitations around the node operator side, and arguably we'll be fine for that demand. It's really the liquid staking side that we need. So, in theory, these bull market tourists should love, to some degree, our ETH, especially the ones on the bigger end who might have been paying attention to where reputable people are and aren't exactly the tourist types. Uh, so in the lead up to all-time highs, or not all-time highs, to bull market peak, I do expect inflows to staking protocols, liquid staking protocols. It is post peak and really like quarter the way into the bear market where I think the liquidations are going to start hurting hard. Uh, and will cause these big DPEG events. Rocket Pool and the IMC has always prioritized prudent management of what is it leverage, and compared to every LST, we are super under levered, right? And so these are the type of events where that actually pays off. So imagine we do have an event where all these other protocols are having massive DPEG events and RETH is doing fine, especially if this is post Saturn 2 where we get better mechanisms included for RETH burn that were posited during the RETH research incubator. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the role of restaking and how that's sort of shaped 2023, 2024, and will shape 2025. Um, Almost every restaking protocol had a great 2023 and a largely terrible in terms of TVL 2024. Uh, Puffer, Renzo, uh, uh, I can't recall the others. There's a whole bunch.
EtherFi.
Is the one exception.
It's an
Yeah.
exception. Yeah.
EtherFi has been doing well. EtherFi, great team. They are so while they have what they were able to realize is that the eigenlayer game is not going to sustain them. That they had to be continuously launching new products, engaging their, let's be honest, fairly uh, capital hungry user base who are largely farmers. They have to keep engaging them in games or different schemas that are attention grabbing, and they've done a very good job of that and provided products that are both attention grabbing and frankly useful, right? So EtherFi, I think, will do well regardless of the overall restaking trend because they're diversifying what they offer, including like Bitcoin staking and things, just weird things. But that's what they're good at. Uh, in that said, restaking specifically is going to keep shrinking. We've seen the outflows, and the outflows have been massive, and those will continue. Uh, and in that, we have to see where that ETH goes. If we have restaking outflows, but we're in the midst of an overall broader ETH bull market, they're probably going into DeFi strategies. And if they're going into DeFi strategies, that tends to benefit LSTs. Uh, so yeah, I think it's going to be a complex 2025 for LSTs. It's going to be hard, I will say, to do worse than 2024. It'll be very hard, specifically because LST mindshare went down 79% by the end of 2024. LST is not far behind, but like 60 something percent down. Uh, and so the mindshare has really been pulled out. which means there's a huge opportunity, especially as we start getting these staking ETF headlines coming in, as we get Petra coming in, as we get Saturn 2 bringing in the feed switch and bringing our scalability to new heights, as we can absorb near infinite RE's demand, things could go great. Things could go well. I think I still stand by my prediction of a 10K ETH and a 0.18 RPL, 0.175.
0.18 or 0.18?
0.018,
Okay.
sorry.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I was about to buy an island.
Yeah,
yeah.
but Manson's pretty grown up, guys. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
that's depends on a lot.
Whack, when you were talking about your spicy point there, I was thinking about the staking ETFs that are expected this year, and how we haven't had that before. And how does that's a new variable going to affect LSTs? Are ETFs going to buy LSTs, or are they going to set up their own validators? Are they going to just do that? There's something. Maybe you get a mix of both. Maybe an ETF will just market by some LSTs, but a different ETF is going to have an in-house staking team that just runs their own validators. I don't know.
I think that it would be absolutely amazing for an ETF, applicant to say that they want to buy LSTs. However, I don't think the regulatory environment and regime is there at all. So as much as we might hype that and say that this is a possibility, like technically it's possible, but the likelihood of it I think is extremely low. What will happen is they'll like we saw Bitwise already purchased a staking company to bring in-house. They're getting ready for that. Like they're seeing the writing on the wall. And the thing is, like, for the last year, we've been hearing about the Ether ETF, and people have been kind of like, downplaying it, saying, it's second fiddle to the headline act, it's small potatoes. And one of the reasons why they were saying these things is because it didn't have the staking element. This kind of goes back to my other point that I was making earlier about how people just don't understand the world that we live in right now. Like, TradFi has never, ever in the history of TradFi seen a yield-bearing asset that pays out yield in the asset itself. It's always dollar denominated. So you have an appreciating asset that people have seen already has done a 3x since the lows, 2 years ago. It's done 3x. Now, on top of that, you're getting 2% or 2.5% return in that asset that is also appreciating in value. That has never happened before in any of TradFi investment vehicle ever. Like it's just been impossible, right? Like you can't generate new oil from oil you already hold. You have to go and drill for oil. Like you have to mine it, right? Like the mine precious metals, drill oil. You can't just, it doesn't get created by you staking it. So with Ether, like this will be the only staking product that people will have access to. It will be the only product that has this kind of yield. So the inflows to ETH ETFs are going to be mind-bogglingly large. Now, are they going to be larger than Bitcoin? I don't think so. Are they going to be way bigger? I see Jasper, nice. I like that little finger there. I hope so. But like, what will happen is the ETH will outperform Bitcoin from here to the peak of the market, right? So $5 billion, for example, in the ETH ETFs. I'm just pulling a number. As it doubles against Bitcoin, that becomes 10 billion, where Bitcoin will stay 10 billion. And I'm not saying that this isn't a flipping talk or anything. I'm just saying the relative TVL in the ETFs will increase because the assets under management in those ETFs will go up. So that in itself will give a huge boost to the ETH mind share or like the idea about ETH. Then you add the staking ETFs on top of that with a yield, and I think from some of the things that I've been reading, it looks like it's going to be a really easy switch. Like it won't be having to go through the whole process from scratch. What the existing ETF issues will do is put in an application for an amendment, which is a much more like straightforward procedure, much more streamlined. They'll say, hey, we want to add this paragraph basically to the whole thing. And we actually had this, we have this because BlackRock, I think, or Fidelity, one of them put through the application with that paragraph in there, and the ETH ETFs were approved by that one paragraph being taken out. So like, hey, we just want to amend our thing. We're inserting this paragraph, the one that was back there. The regulatory environment is completely shifted. SEC is completely shifted. The legal aspects have completely shifted. That paragraph will go back in. That paragraph will be included by all the issuers. So this is going to happen a lot quicker than people are thinking, because they're thinking in their mind, oh, this is going to take the 9-month process. We're going to have to get futures for ETH staking ETFs. No. None of that stuff is happening. This is going to happen really quickly. I'm thinking within like 3 months, we'll have a staking ETF. Now, what that's going to do is going to gobble up all this thing. We've got millions of ETH in these ETFs already. They're going to get staked. The staking rewards are going to come down. The worst nightmares of the ETH researchers might be realized. Like, no, we've got millions of validators, like, the network's being degraded. But sadly, like, they're going to have to get that EIP 7251, the max effective balance shipped before that ETF goes live. Otherwise, they're going to be, Ethereum's going to be in the world of unhurt, like, at the network level. But staking ETF rewards, staking rewards are going to go down. They'll stake in house. We'll get, another 10 million, 15 million ETH staked to take our validator count, 50% up. So this is gonna be a fast moving narrative. Now, this will obviously be the greatest staking narrative. Then it's people like me and Jasper, our part to try to hype LSTs within that, and like the place of Rocket Pool as a staking protocol within that, and whether that is focusing part of it on that small possibility of there being a LST ETF down the line. I'll be mentioning that's a possibility, because it is a possibility. But other things, if we can do them, I'm sure Jasper has some really good ideas on this. So sorry about my rant again there, Jasper. Please
okay.
take it and fix
Fantastic rack, fantastic rant. I have so much to respond to. I hope I can keep track of it all. So yeah, staking ETFs are going to pose one of the most beneficial and most challenging moments for Ethereum. It'll legitimize Ethereum writ large to a level it never has been. It'll legitimize staking to an entire cohort of investors, even beyond the ETFs. People who were considering staking but were somewhat on the fence will now see that the ETF is approved and go and do the thing that they were considering before but weren't so sure about. This could revitalize people or institutions who were considering staking with Rocket Pool but decided not to for legal reasons. So on one side, regardless of what happens with terms who stakes with the staking ETFs, it is bullish legitimacy for Ethereum, which is bullish the staking category at large. Moving downstream, we talked about the rewards getting dampened and the number of validators going up. One of my predictions for 2025 is that the single most important issue for the researchers is inflation slash issuance. Yeah, so I will have to work very hard on this essay, make sure it's all prim and proper to convince the ETH researchers of my position, which is that ETH staking ratio is going to approach 100% essentially no matter what the researchers do. As long as the staking rewards are positive, the reward on long enough timescales for uh, staking is going to outweigh the risk for enough investors that it pushes the ratio 90-95%. I think that's just an inevitability on long timescales of financial systems like this. That said, they probably are going to want to do something about it. But another one of my predictions is that there is no change to the inflation schedule next year. Uh, I think there will be a huge amount of discourse, and ultimately we will resolve on not changing it, but instead likely changing how staking fundamentally works on a longer time scale, probably incorporating something with rainbow staking, hopefully. And I think Rocket Pool can still thrive in that world of a two-tiered or striated a staking system. So another point I want to mention on terms of staking ETFs, there are already entities that have sort of built themselves around being TradFi staking guardians. So I'm looking at oh, what are they called? They had a name change. Oh, LST ETH or LS ETH is their ticker. Uh, I can't recall what their name is, but they've literally been gearing up to and been talking to TradFi institutions to get them to understand that, hey, use our token. It's KYC. It's all friendly to you, what you guys want, and it is less risk to you. So they've been working on getting them to use their KYC esque token, which in long term will pay out dividends for us as we can ultimately provide a better product and being decentralized. That depends ultimately, though, on the nature of the legal framework. Are these institutions ever going to be allowed to use decentralized staking platforms. Well, the president's using CowSwap. The president's using anonymous matchmaking systems in a sealed bid auction, which is essentially high frequency trading behind some fancy cryptographic layers, right? I think it's inevitability that eventually, these staking ETFs will want to use tokens like rETH and stETH because of the decentralization premium that they offer on risk. I think it's very likely that we see one of these custodial entities fuck up. We've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Custodians make mistakes.
Yep.
Firebox, were the largest sort of like infra layer for these big TradFi investment companies trying to bridge over. They've lost thousands, tens of thousands of ETH before in security issues. So yeah, on long time scales, these people will come back to decentralized products because the decentralized products are simply better. And so I remember once asking Nate Garucci, the ETF analyst, who sort of like predicted the ETF approval for ETH, like, hey, could you ever see the ETFs using LSTs that are sufficiently decentralized? Like, is there any like reason other than legal not to? And he was like, and I explained like the risk benefit analysis. Like, these protocols are decentralized. There's no overhead risk of one slashing event causing like an overall loss of capital or principal, and he agreed. He was like, the principal the principal blocker here is legal, not technical or incentives, and legal is just a temporary issue. On long time scale, that gets solved, and it, again, as Wax said, it's ultimately our job to make sure that Rocket Pool is in a position to provide our services when the time comes. How do we do that? I think one of the key things that we need to be doing in 2025 is engaging with the sort of experimental banks, of which there are a number. Like, we see banks launching L2s. One of the banks I'm particularly keen on is Signum Bank, who's done a lot of like very early work on getting things launched within them. They have a smaller asset size, which lets them be more flexible. They're in Switzerland,
Mhm.
and they were very early to the staking scene. So if we were to get an ETF offering an LST staking ETF or staking product to banking customers, I think it's there that we'll see it first, and that we need to get Rocket Pool there.
That would be really exciting seeing that at some point. Shall we move on to how we did last year, Whack, with our predictions? Or should we just
Let's,
skip that part of the show?
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I can grin and bear it. It's fine. Let's do it.
You can deal. Before we do that, I just while Jasper was talking, I was thinking of what you said, Whack, on all the green lights that are flashing in front of us for 25. And when Jasper was saying, you know, the president-elect is trading on CowSwap. Okay, let's stop for a minute. You know, this 78-year-old man or his team, his
Yeah.
team, I don't think he's
he doesn't know
actually,
what CowSwap
I don't
is.
think he knows what
His sons
CowSwap is.
do.
His son, right. But the fact that his team is trading on CowSwap is one of those blinking green lights, I suppose, right? So on to what we did last year. Let's take a look. We have the receipts. I think I go first here. So let's take a look and see what I said. Okay. So
Thanks for saving me. You're pausing it right there. That's good. Thank you.
Well, I had to throw that in there. So we, I don't think we came close to that. I think we came to maybe, I think in $35 or $40 range.
$38.
$38. Okay.
Yeah. On the wick.
On the wick.
Yeah.
38. So about half right. We just couldn't get there.
Yeah, I'll take half right. Yeah, let's call that half right. Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of Price is Right with Bob Barker, and he had to, you know, guess the price, and you didn't want to go over, but whoever's closest to the price underneath it wins. And so on that one, complete failure. We did not meet all-time highs. I should say, Whack thought I was being way too conservative. So let's see what Whack said. Oh, go ahead, Whack.
Okay, go on then. Go on.
Should we? Let's put you through punishment here.
Go for it.
So you're referring to there the ETH RPL ratio at 0.025. Currently, I think we're at around zero
Three
zero three
zero three
five.
five. Yeah. No, wait, 0035.
0035, pardon me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 0.0035. So we're about say 8x off what you thought. And if we did 0.025, that would give us an ETH price of about $8,000. So right now, I think we hit just over 4,000 was the high for 2024. So again, looks like we came up short, whack.
Yeah, I thought that ETH was going to go up more because of the ETFs, and I thought the ETFs would take like everything with it in the ETH ecosystem. And sadly, that obviously didn't work out the way that I had hoped it would work out. So yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
Well,
all been noticing the ETFs in the past like week or two have been more ETH favored than
In the
BTC
last
favored?
month.
yes.
In the last
Yeah.
month, pretty
Last
much.
several
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I think
interesting.
we will see during the peak of the bull market, during ETH's peak cycle, at least a full week where ETH leads.
I think we'll see that before that.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
Like
prediction.
I think ETH, especially if we get the staking ETFs, ETH is going to start outperforming. I think the ETH ETF starts outperforming the BTC ETF from now basically. And like if you reset the timer like 2 weeks ago, ETH ETF will outperform the BTC ETF. That's my thinking for the rest of the market, like for this market cycle into the peak, wherever that might be.
You know, Jasper, you do not get out of this because we have.
Really?
Yes. We have the receipts for Jasper as well, folks. Let's see what he said. So, Jasper, how do you think you did on those three?
So competitors taking longer to launch. I was definitely right on some of them.
Like who?
Like who? Yeah.
Diva.
Oh, yeah. Diva.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
CSM was exactly on time, right?
exactly on time to the week.
Yeah.
Top 5 protocol by real TVL.
We're down at 17. so that's definitely a miss.
Tough year for prediction. I think you know, it's a hard thing to do. That's why it's just fun kind of throwing it out there because there's all these unknowns. The one known we know this coming up in 25 is we talk about the 4-year cycle, right? And it seems like it's playing out again, almost to the T, almost to the week. It's almost too, I joke, a friend of mine, we talk about this sometimes, and I say, if the 4-year cycle plays out again and we all do well, are we going to look back on it and say, man, was it that easy? We could just do the 4-year. What were we worrying about, right? And I would hope that's true, but we don't know. But there's always things that will be in 2025 that we didn't predict. However, I will start with the 2025 predictions. First, I think that there will be a staking ETF approved, but I don't think it's going to be until second half. The reason is government takes a while to work. Who knows when the SEC chairman is going to be approved by the Senate. These things just take time. And then you got, they file applications. You got the lawyers looking at it. So I'm going to say second half of 2025, we'll have a staking ETF. ETH price. Let's go on that. This is a fun one. So I think last year, I don't know if I said it on the show, but there's another one I got wrong. I think I said ETH would hit 6,600 in 2024, which obviously I was wrong. But this year, I'm going to say, the way I calculated this was I looked at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is about a cycle ahead of ETH because it's been around longer. So I said, well, what did Bitcoin do last cycle?
17K?
From bottom to top. And it was 22.
3,000 to, sorry,
yeah,
69,000.
Right. So it went right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it went from it was like 3,400 or something to 69,000. So I figured out it was about 22x. So if we applied that to ETH, that would give us, I think the low was around 880 or 870. That would take us to over 19,000. However, because whenever I do projects around the house, I always account for the 20% rule. Things take 20% longer than you thought, and they cost 20% more than you thought as well. So I'm going to knock 20% off that 22x, which would give us an ETH price of about 15,000. So that's my ETH prediction. My RPL prediction is we will reach a new all-time high in US dollar terms. I'm going to say $75, which would be about
the same ratio as now?
About 7. I think I calculated at 15,000 a point. Did I say 0.005? I can't remember how I did it, but I'm saying 75
that's
bucks.
0.005. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think I did like a 0.005, 75 bucks. That would be almost a 7x from where we are now. So it's still pretty good.
In dollars.
In dollars. I do have.
No, wait, that wouldn't be 7x from where we are now.
I mean, 7 times.
We're at $12, so it'd be like a 6x. But that's yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I was just saying roughly 10 or 11 bucks.
Okay.
Yeah, so about 6x, we'll say. I do have a bonus one, which I'll hold to the end, which is a non-crypto prediction. So that's what do you guys think of those?
Yeah, let me go. So I think
yeah, go ahead.
ETH does better than we think. I think ETH definitely hits like the 15 to 20,000 mark. So better than what we think. It'll peak there. I don't know how long it'll stay there. Like on the ratio, I expect it to hit against BTC, that is ETH, to go somewhere around the 0.1 mark, so higher than it did last time. And I don't know how much more it'll get than that. So I'm thinking BTC will be somewhere around 150,000 to 200,000. So ETH obviously like strongly outperforms this year compared to BTC. Now RPL I think also outperforms ETH, but similarly to you, Pat, like I don't think it's going to outperform that strongly. I think for me, I'm closer to Jasper's prediction, what he mentioned earlier, but my ETH prediction is higher. So Jasper said 10,000 ETH, 0.018 RPL versus ETH, so that's $180. I think ETH goes more than that, but RPL goes to around that ETH amount, so the US dollar price will be like double pretty much, or like more, like in accordance with that. So that's kind of my ETH RPL predictions.
Well, wait. What's the RPL prediction?
Like in dollar terms, like no, 0.018 somewhere around there, like what Jasper said. So somewhere between 0.015 and 0.02.
Okay.
So like kind of between a 4x basically to 5x from here, and the ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're predicting between 15 to 20 ETH.
Yeah.
And
15 to 20,000 ETH.
BTC ETH ratio of about 0.01.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it hit, it seemed last cycle it was flirting around 0.085 or so on the BTC.
With all-time highs.
Right? So that would be breaking through that 0.085.
Yeah, we had double top last time. We hit it twice, once around the merge and once around the peak of the market. And then like obviously the distribution phase kind of like looked like a distribution phase, and then ETH bled a lot. But I think that ETH basically comes back with a vengeance this year.
I saw.
You know what's interesting is there's a lot fewer forced sellers of ETH. Like the potential for forced ETH sellers seems a lot lower than with the last cycle. But potential forced Bitcoin sellers are still there.
Yeah.
With MicroStrategy. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Oh,
and with the
seller's never selling. He's
it's
never selling.
It's not MicroStrategy, like it's literally miners, right? They have to sell every day.
Miners.
So and the hash rate will go up as the price goes up, because more people want to mine. Means mining is even less efficient, which means more people will sell. So there'll be a daily pressure from the mining itself, and then as price goes up, we'll see people who are wanting to sell come out of the woodwork, and there'll definitely be liquidity for BTC selling. For ETH selling, I think that ETH will be locked in DeFi strategies, ETH will be locked in staking, ETH will be locked up in all these different ways, which will mean that it'll be less likely to be sold potentially.
I've had one more crypto prediction I forgot in regards to Bitcoin. The Bitcoin reserve will not happen in 2025. I think they will retain the 200,000 Bitcoin that the government owns. They will not sell it. But I think switching over to having the government go out and actually buy Bitcoin is just a bridge too far for 25.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think they might just call it a strategic reserve and just put that 200,000 Bitcoin into there. So in name that'll happen, but new purchasing of Bitcoin, I think it won't be anything more than symbolic if it
Yeah.
happens.
Now it could happen down the road, but I just think it's too quick
Yeah,
when it comes to these things.
the limits bill won't take that long to go through. Sorry, it will take a while to go through because they've got bigger priorities. This is one of the things that you were saying, Pat, is that the SEC and how fast it moves. I think we already know who Trump has chosen for SEC lead. As long as that person gets confirmed, I think it'll be rubber stamping stuff in week one, which is why I think those ETFs will happen a lot quicker than you think. The ETH ETF, staking ETFs is what I mean. We'll also be getting in-kind redemption. I think those will be simple amendments as well. So those
Yeah.
are things that I think could be, but they'll probably put both into like the same set of amendments. For the BTC, they'll just change the paragraph to make it in-kind redemption. For ETH, they'll change two paragraphs, one to add a paragraph about staking and one to change it to in-kind redemption as well. So I think those can happen very quickly. They'll also be getting ETH options ETFs, just like we are going to get BTC options ETFs. We're getting merging ETFs like starting ASAP. They've already been approved, so they just need to go through like the last regulatory period. So there's going to be a whole lot happening on the ETH ETF side very, very soon. Like, and it's going to be exciting.
Sure. Jasper,
Yeah.
your turn, buddy.
Yeah. So RPL ETH, I think RPL caps out during bull market mania 0.0175 ish, with an ETH price between 10 and 13K for roughly 180 to ish RPL, if all things go well. I think Saturn will be slightly delayed to August to include some changes for the RETH research incubator. I think Pectra A, the first half of Pectra, will not be delayed, but Pectra B will be. Right? Are they still doing two forks for Pectra?
Yeah, so they're not calling
Yeah.
it Pectra 2 anymore. They're just going to call it F star for soccer.
Okay. So okay,
Yeah.
it's back to just two forks, right? Okay. But I think that will be delayed and will be a very contentious fork. Um, I think the bull market for Bitcoin will top in May, but ETH in November, of course. Uh, then I actually do think we will get a major crypto stablecoin bill passed this
Yeah.
year, and that's gonna be massive. I don't remember who I was listening to. I think it was one of the Bankless podcasts, but they were sort of talking about what Trump's legislative priorities could be, and the House and Senate are both Republican controlled, but not with a strong majority.
Mhm.
And so it becomes sort of difficult for them to try to go for their big campaign objectives, like a big border security law or a big tax reform. But something like a cable or stablecoin legislation gives them an easy win for the year, if that's the route they want to take it. So paying attention to their to the party's messaging in like the earlyish part of middle parts of the year, see where they're leaning. Like if they keep talking about crypto the way they have been, I think it's very likely they go for the bipartisan approach to get the easy bill passed, and then try to do well in 26, and then get their gain seats so that they can then go for their big objectives, so to speak. Um, no inflation change. I said that. And ETH flows will exceed 50/50 for at least one full week.
Good one. I think that's happening.
Yeah.
My
So I've got,
non-crypto. I'm sorry. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, I've
No,
still
no,
got a
no.
crypto one, so let me do the crypto one, then we'll go to the non-crypto one.
Yeah.
I think the biggest performing meta of 2025 is going to be AI agents. AI, but specifically AI agents, not AI hardware as much. I feel like I haven't seen a crypto narrative catch fire the way AI agents has caught fire in the last few weeks since DeFi Summer in 2020. And that I missed out on DeFi Summer. Like I just didn't take part. I was just like, I'm gonna hold my ETH, I'm not doing anything with it. And I missed out big time, even though I was in circles of people talking about protocols and tokens that could have made me very, very rich if I'd played that right. Obviously, if I played it badly, I could have ended up with zero. As they say on Bankless, like DeFi is risky. But I kind of learned my lesson from not taking part in that, not taking part in NFTs in 2021. I got burned on my first NFT mint, and I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I missed out on really big potential gains there as well, with the things that people were mentioning to me, doing 100x in returns. In 2023, the meme stuff was happening, and I don't really care about memes, so I was just like, yeah, whatever, like you guys do what you want. However, with this AI narrative, like I think that I've gotten early, which is decent, like not the earliest, but early enough. And also, I think there's going to be huge advancements in the technology itself. Like right now, this week we're getting some FUD, like all these AI agents are just glorified chatbots, blah, blah, blah. But the technological developments that are happening like behind the scenes are breakneck speed, like absolutely astonishing how fast this is happening and how much mind share from crypto is going into this right now. Like, the AI16Z project, which is the open source one, the big open source project, on their adoption rates are mind-bogglingly astonishing. It's literally a vertical line on like GitHub. No repositories have been adopted and worked with as fast ever in all of GitHub history. Like the closest is Google's Gemini, like some outsourced open source aspect of that, and that is like babyish compared to it. Like the metrics are just astonishing. So again, this is one of those like flashing green lights, like blinding lights saying take a position. Like don't mid curve it, don't overthink it. Don't right curve it, just left curve it. Like here a ticker, go buy it. Like that's the kind of situation. Not financial advice.
That's not financial.
That's the mindset that I'm adopting right now. Is like I think I've purchased like 30 different tokens in the last 2 weeks. So yeah,
starting your own VC fund.
No, not quite there yet.
The WAC fund.
But that's how I'm playing this cycle now. Am I going to get wrecked? Probably, maybe. Yeah, there's a chance I will. But it's fun. Like I'm having fun. Like I'm learning so much. The whole new part of crypto that I've never experienced before. And the last time I felt like this excited about crypto was with Rocket Pool around Atlas, when we had all these hopes and dreams and aspirations of all this amazing stuff that was going to come, and like just this hype and mindset that was building. And obviously, sadly, it didn't work out. In hindsight, it kind of fell flat. But with this one, I think that the fact that it's not just crypto, this is wider than crypto now. You've got like people on Spotify listening to music created by crypto agents. You've got people interacting with crypto agents on Twitter and not even realizing it really. Now that they've got the automated thing, so people are getting into it. You literally had Charles Hoskinson getting into a fight with an agent like last week.
That's hilarious.
Like this is, and people like it's fair, right? Like some of the output is definitely slop. Like there is the aspect of it that that some of this is trash. But when you compare it to the meme coin cycle, like, the peak meme coin cycle peaked at over $100 billion TVL. If you count all the meme coins and their TVL, their market caps, DeFi Summer peaked at over $100 billion market caps for their coins. Alt Layer 1 play, Solunavax, peaked out over $100 billion in 2021. Those mindshare plays, and the AI mindshare play right now is $15 billion. I got in at like $7 or $8 billion like 2 weeks ago. It's doubled in that time. So I really do think that this has room to run. Like it's super explosive, but I think it's going to keep going for a while. So I think that's what we're all going to be talking about in like 3 months time. And then
I was going to say, I forgot, I should have written my predictions down, but that was my intro. I was going to say, I think that I'm going to call it AI winter is going to be analogous to the DeFi summer, in that it's going to ramp and be the catalyst for the ETH that we'll see later in the year. But this is I look at it and it seems very similar to DeFi, the craze.
It's happening in two places though. So it's happening on Base and it's happening on Solana, and a couple of different places that are like trying to eke out like a foothold. Like Hyperliquid is trying to get some agent stuff going on there. Sonic, which is a rebranding of the Phantom blockchain, which was an EVM fork basically from 4 years ago. They're like launching some agent stuff now as well. So there's a bunch of stuff happening, but like I said, this is really early days. Like it's literally like the trenches, and you're gonna get burned. You're gonna invest in protocols that are gonna go bust and do nothing. But there's the possibility here of like astonishing gains, like truly mind-boggling gains. So yeah, like that's what I think is going to be a big one. And you can choose to watch it from the sidelines or not. Like that's your choice.
In the trenches like whack.
No,
You
what
can
I'm doing though, what I'm doing is like completely different from like just investing. Like there's the idea of like this is a thing. Like you go and buy the virtuals, like token or the AI16Z token, whatever. Like those are like the layer one tokens. Like then after that you got like the big agents like AI XBTC, Vader, like whatever, those guys, the bigger ones, like the more than 100 million, like less than a billion kind of area, literally buying tokens that are $30,000 market cap. So
Yeah.
it's a very, very different different approach here, but it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun.
So let's wrap it up there. I had two.
I've got a
Oh, go ahead. I got
Sorry.
two more to wrap it up. But Jasper, why don't you finish with yours first?
yeah. I've got three more crypto before we jump into the non-cryptos.
Okay.
I'll make them quick. Solana will go down at least one more time. They will have the Jito mempool, the public mempool, will go live again. They will not solve MEV, so that was sort of like one. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then
Can I add to that?
say again.
I think Solana has peaked against ETH.
For this cycle, I think that's right.
Yeah. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. Kaito will gain relevance and will not go away. And yeah, I'll just leave it at those two.
Okay.
Very good. So mine, I will say a top, by the end of 25, there will be a song that gets into the top 40 that was produced by AI.
Oh, at least AI involvement. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
AI
I agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my non-crypto is...
That's going to be Zerebro, by the way. Like if it's anyone right now, it's looking like it's going to be Zerebro or Luna. So Zerebro it's an independent like the agent on Solana, and Luna is a virtual token who is based on a Korean pop star, and she's getting access to music terminals now. So I wouldn't be surprised if she puts out a K-pop hit. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it looks like Zerebro at the moment is actually releasing an album every 2 weeks, and they're getting literally thousands and thousands of listens. I think Zerebro's made over $100,000 in fees from streams. So this is definitely going to be.
I have the AI, the music AI token, which I hope is part of that as well.
You got the actual token music from virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually an infrastructure token.
Yeah,
so
right. Someone built on it.
The other virtuals that want to make music, they'll use the music token to make their music. So that's what it's for. Yeah.
So my non-crypto quickly is the your own Detroit Lions will meet the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl in February, and the Lions will be victorious. They will be the Super Bowl champions.
Okay, I don't know if you guys have seen me change my profile picture on Twitter since I've gone into the trenches. I've changed it to an EV Maverick, which is it's an old community now. It's like it's being frozen. It's called ETH Finance, Reddit ETH Finance. Jasper, I know you were a part of that community, and they did an EFT mint in 2021 called the EV Mavericks, and it had a really brief, beautiful, glorious like fire. And then it kind of died down and kind of became dormant. But the people who got those NFTs were like the people who were most active in ETH Finance Discord, Reddit, sorry. And there were some of the best and brightest minds in ETH at that time. Like, we had people like DC Investor in there, Superfizz, who we love, was in there. People like
Polyneo.
Yeah, Polyneo started there exactly as Liberosis, I think. Is that right? It was a while ago. But all these people got this NFT, EV Maverick NFT, and that is making a resurgence. And if the Lions win, I think that NFT is going to get the lion motif
cool.
is going to pump. So I'm not selling mine. Like, I've got a holy boy and I love that guy, so I'm gonna keep him till the end. I might just do what Jasper does and sell him and still use the profile picture. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, guys, it's been a good one. We've went an hour, almost 20 minutes on this recap and 2025 predictions. It's been great. It's really good to see you, Jasper. Thanks. You've been generous with your time. And we look forward to your white paper that's coming out hopefully by the end of this month in January. That should be fun. So on behalf of everyone, thanks for watching and listening. Please subscribe. And again, it's a new year. Thanks so much for your support and watching and listening to us. And also, I'm sure WAC appreciates everyone listening to his daily show, Rocket Fuel. So tune in on YouTube or on Spotify. We really appreciate you. Guys, we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.